So today's podcast is another guest interview. It's a great topic, how the practice of slowing down positively impacts your life. It's with a good friend of mine, Dr. Carolyn Smyth. She is an expert in Chinese medicine. She is a licensed acupuncturist, runs her own practice. We'll go over all that stuff in the podcast, but this one's got me so excited because I learned so much in this one, and I just hope you will as well. And so take a moment, and I hope you enjoy listening to part one. Hi, and welcome to Mental Fitness Stories with Jon Steele. I'm your host, Jon Steele, licensed marriage and family therapist. And today we'll be talking more about mental fitness and an awesome topic I am just super excited about, the mind-body connection and how that just really does connect with mental fitness. I have a good friend with me here, Carolyn. Carolyn, awesome to have you. Super excited.
Nice to be here.
Yes. And so excited just about, I know we've already had like kind of conversations about this topic, mind-body connection. And so with that, I was just like, well, let's just put it on a podcast.
Yeah,
and let's just do this.
Yeah.
It's super fun. So super excited for that. Let me go through and just share with the people, a little bit about you.
Let the people know.
Let the people know. And then we'll rock and roll. So Carolyn is Doctor of Acupuncture in Chinese Medicine, licensed acupuncturist, and owner of Warrior Within Wellness, which is awesome. Her practice focuses on healing physical and emotional trauma through acupuncture, body work, movement, and nutrition. She holds both an MS and DACM degrees in the field of Chinese medicine, which I'm super excited to talk about because that is just so cool. And then Carolyn has also been in collaboration with San Diego-based nonprofits, working with post 9/11 veterans through Warriors Live On and Women in Recovery through Shakti Rising. Did I pronounce that?
You sure did.
Okay. I was working on it like all night. I was just making sure. Carolyn's also had extensive background in counseling and community organizing, also holds an MA in nonprofit leadership and management from the University of San Diego, and then past president and of the board of the Karen organization of San Diego.
The Karen organization.
Sorry, is
no,
that?
No, it's totally fine. We just, Karen has a different sort of...
That is, thank you for that. Karen organization of San Diego. That is so true. It has such a much different...
Karen organization. No one needs help for that.
That is too much. I absolutely,
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
That is much needed. Which that organization, again, Karen organization, works with refugees from Burma.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
one of the things that I found has been kind of fun and helpful to do as we go through mental fitness, and that word, when I first heard it, was something that hit me differently in the way that it was thrown out there to me. Being an LMFT and working a lot in the mental health capacity, when somebody mentioned that fitness piece of it, I also am, involved in sports and athletics and all this stuff. It just had this different vibe to it. So I found it's also helpful to find that a little bit as well, and maybe kind of be able to highlight a little bit of the differences. So just being able to maybe start off with that, maybe catching some of your thoughts. And I know for me, I've kind of landed on the ideas that mental fitness really helps in kind of two areas. One of them being building life resilience and what that means, as well as really being able to bring kind of a section of joy and happiness in life as well. But that's me.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you, just kind of some of your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. So fitness, I think, is, for me, how I would define it is kind of a wholeness. And so the way we would talk about it in Chinese medicine, whether it's, mental fitness, physical fitness, emotional fitness, spiritual fitness, is about being whole. And in our terms in Chinese medicine, that comes with having the right balance of yin and yang, and also possessing the ability to transform in between the two. So yin and yang are these terms. If you've ever seen that symbol, the white and interchanging with the black.
Yes.
We talk a lot about yang as being the masculine and the movement and the going and the lightness and the daylight. And we think about yin as the cold and the feminine and the dark and sort of the flexibility piece. And so fitness as a wholeness is about having both the strength of yang and also the flexibility of yin. And that's kind of how we look at things. And everything that we look in Chinese medicine has a yin and a yang, whether it's, any sort of like the physical body, the spiritual body, even, just movements and thoughts, all have a yin and a yang aspect. And so being fit and being in the fitness of those things is having that equal balance of yin and yang. And the ability to transform between the two.
To kind of move in between both of them. That balance piece is just like a beautiful representation of fitness. And I love the way that that's brought up because, for me, my mind goes straight to like fitness. Okay, like I got to get like, this physicalness of it. I've got to get, piece. Yes, and I so often can forget that like it's the yin portion of that.
That recovery piece and that flexibility piece.
Yes, and how important that is. Important. I mean, I will say even for me in my like journey of life, but as it comes out physically for me, in whether it was from athletics and whatnot, the yin portion is something that I've recognized how beneficial that is. And I know you mentioned even too, like sometimes maybe the difference in like kind of maybe male, female kinds of representations of that. But yeah, just that yin portion has been one that I think I've realized maybe has been lacking and I've had to really focus more on and bring that into
absolutely
kind of the picture more.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people experience that sort of that the yin is the harder piece. The yin is like slowing down is the harder piece. And I think there's many reasons for that, but I think that our society currently is built around a lot of yang energy. And so we enter into the world and we're taught so much that it's all about the go and the end result. And the yin is that balance piece, but it's also an emptiness, but a beautiful emptiness. It's a void. And so our yang mind tries to fill that up and we lose that piece of yin. And so the real hard work is to keep that void the void, and to slow it down and know that there's a lot of strength in that slowing down and that recovery piece and that part of being flexible.
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, I can, as you're talking about, I literally can picture times in my life where my yang is like, what are you doing? Like, that's you can't, I can't, you gotta do, not like sit. And like breathe and be, and
but then when you can reflect back into the lot of the things that you've done to achieve, you've had to slow down, right? The greatest achievements are the ones that have been slower, like the more profound achievements are the ones that do have a lot of that yin aspect in it. So
no, you can see that balance, right? Like it's so true. Even though yang feels maybe like it's more of the like in your face,
it's more tangible. You
yes, but the yin, as I've realized it more and more, I can recognize, how impactful and how beautiful yin is. When I think I am like more intentional about it. Like I observe it and I see it. Versus probably like you're saying, yin was happening regardless. Like yang was happening and yin was happening at the same time. But I think I've recognized more of like, okay, I want to be more like in that intentional yin and kind of that mental fitness portion of that and where that lands.
Piece, for sure.
Yeah.
To reflect into like, yes, I'm doing this correctly. I can keep moving on.
I think within the mental fitness portion of it, how that, when I think of that intention, how much of a practice it is and how, maybe in this case, yang to me seems more of that like physical representation of that. And I can, like you're saying, tangible, like I can see that. And in some ways, but have really had to bring out yin.
The yin piece,
that
absolutely.
exists.
And that's it's like if you've ever done yin yoga, it is so hard. It's not, you're like, I'm going to this yin yoga class, like this is gonna, like, I'm just gonna take a nap and it's gonna be great. But it is the hardest form of yoga because you have to sit. Yeah. And we are so uncomfortable with sitting, you know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That just came, I was just thinking the same thing. I just started to do a few yin yoga classes. Yeah. And the first couple of times I've done it, I'd be like, no, what is my body doing?
Why
like,
can't I do this?
This is so hard. And then it's like, no, wait a second. I mean, I started to feel, I think, more of whatever that connection is, and maybe it's just the satisfying of that balance. I'm not sure, but like maybe you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is the switch from the different types of your nervous system, right, or the different portions of the nervous system, right? Yeah. And so we're so used to being in this sympathetic, like fight and flight and go and do. Yeah. We are very unfamiliar with the parasympathetic and the rest and digest. You know, we eat on the run, we eat while on our phones, and so our bodies are in that, you know, that sympathetic nervous system when we're trying to do things that are really promoting the yin inside of us. And so, you know, I think practices like yin yoga and meditation and eating, you know, without distraction and having conversation when you're eating and getting good quality sleep. These are the yin practices that we need to do much more of so that we can be whole again.
Yeah. No, that's like, as you're mentioning what that yin represents, it's something I can like picture in my head, and I can see it in the moments that I've experienced it. I think the moments that I've felt is a breath that I can take that I can't quite get to in yang. I'm not sure if that's the way that it is or not, because I'm learning as you're telling me right now. I'm soaking it in, going like, oh my gosh, this is the best. But like, that's the way I can at least reflect on how I feel. Yeah. And that's what I feel. There's like this inhale that I'm like, oh my gosh, feels more deep. It feels deep. It feels real. It feels that.
And I think the challenge in life is to be that, is to have the yin within the yang and the yang within the yin. And I think the yin within the yang is to take those breaths when you're moving. And then the yang within the yin is really, really appreciating and feeling like being in the yin is a mark of success. You know, like changing your value set around slowness. Yeah. You know, that's the yang within the yin.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's so beautiful, because I hear in, whether it's, you know, and maybe using for where I'm at in this spot of mental fitness and bringing this wholeness to it is, I think, so beautiful, because I think even as I speak about like mental fitness, there already has this energy to it. There already has this, like, I'm literally just about to go jump. I'm like, right, I'm about to like jump off. Like there's this yang energy to it. Yeah. And yet I have recognized in the wholeness of this fitness, like, you need that slow. You need that breath, like, feel as you are doing both. Because I think what I recognize too is, you know, one of the, whether it's clients or for me personally, I have this achievement like portion of me, you know, this part of me. And I enjoy that, this kind of go get it, like, let's get it done, like, let's perform on the field. Me as a pitcher, right? It's like, you know, let's get these practices in, let's do this. So then on the field, you know, I've got this action, you know, that I'm doing. The rest and recovery of all of that, you know, is something I've come to appreciate more, because then I appreciate the moment that I'm in. And I think that's what I heard when you were talking about like yin with yang, yang with yin. Yeah. Like there's this like presence to it.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of like talking about mental fitness, anytime you are trying to look for a behavior change, you have to set a goal,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to plan for that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal setting might be the yang aspect, and the planning for that is the yin aspect.
Mm.
And then you need that like moment of pause before you jump in to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it is, it is a way to achieve things,
Mm-hmm.
but to have both, right?
Yeah.
The yin influences the yang,
Mm-hmm.
the tides, the ebb and the flow. They have to happen together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for the way the ocean to move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is right. I'm curious as well, maybe for you and maybe some of the things that you've experienced, whether maybe some of that balance of yin and yang, or maybe where something like this kind of wholeness and mental fitness lies for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, gosh, there's, so many examples of that thing, but, I think for me professionally, it was, starting out in a career that was very social service driven and very young and very like giving and moving and chasing, the needs, and not recognizing as well as I should have the burnout or the toll that it took on me.
Yeah.
And so a decision to move into another career sort of, later on in life was me trying to figure out what is going to be sustainable for me, what is going to keep me excited and helping people moving and achieving goals, but more nourishing for myself. Whether that was, financially nourishing for myself or emotionally nourishing. I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do this.
Yes.
And so for me, this idea of Chinese medicine and practicing Chinese medicine was very much that, like, I could still be working with people and still helping them move and achieve things, but in a way that for me was very grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the two parts, like sustainable and nourishing, those are just, I feel like they're absolutely beautiful and sometimes a really hard place to get to, to get to that spot, especially like professionally. I think culturally, maybe societally, like those are usually like, no, you can't.
Not valued,
No,
right?
no,
Like,
yeah. Like
kind of
you're talking about yourself, taking care of yourself. No, we don't do that. But like that is such an amazing spot to be able to feel that and experience that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sustainable and the nourishing. And it sounds like for you, that's what kind of helped guide you into where you are now.
Into where I am now. Yeah. And it was like during that whole process, this idea of like putting the gas mask on yourself before you help a child.
Yes.
Why would anyone ever do that? Like,
no
that is
way.
super selfish. No. But I totally get that. Like, you can't help people unless you're nourished yourself. Right?
It's so funny you say that one, right? There's a part of me that gets like a little irritated at that. I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, no,
help the
like,
kids.
why did you just get that? You're gonna find it somehow. Yeah, right.
You're both out of
in that situation.
Yeah, and then what good is that, right?
Yes,
Totally.
You're both.
There's no yin to root it, right?
Yeah, it's like a deep rooted thing, and this is for me. Like I feel that, and when I speak to that kind of irritated part, of me, right? Like that's at that spot of like, no, you gotta like take care of, others in that way. And I know like whether it's the MFT in me or whatnot, but it's like the family context, right? That I recognize in that.
Absolutely.
And even more so, like the social and cultural aspects of that. We were just talking about earlier, right? Like me living in California. Right? And the difference between living in California versus like experiencing others. And even in the United States, right? Like, you were East Coast, right? And the difference between like that independence feel and community and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
and seasonally too, right? Like there's a difference geographically, right? In California, we do not have to slow down because the weather allows us to do.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get snowed in, like you gotta just sit and we forget that here. And I think a lot of this is so important for a Southern California audience, or like just a Southern audience in general. It's like the importance of cultivating that yin and that stillness, because environmentally we don't get that.
It is so true, right? Like I joke all the time, especially being here in San Diego, we don't seasons. We don't have seasons. I miss seasons,
awesome, right?
Like
you can go hiking.
You can do all right, all kinds of like fun outdoor, like all those kinds of stuff, which is. But I think what you're speaking to as well is that spot of how we don't get almost like this natural reminder, oh no, you're not going out because there's this amount of snow.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we are going. And so, for us, we need discipline.
Yeah.
We need the discipline to stop.
Yes. And I think, as I've learned more and talked more just about something like mental fitness, I think that discipline piece, like that's where I think that word intentional really started to come to light. And this idea that, I've had to focus on it in other ways because whether it's weather-wise, it's not teaching me that. Yeah. Come on now. But it's like, in some ways, being intentional, I've had to slow that pace. And that's where some of these like practices have come to mind.
Absolutely.
I was curious for you as well, and whether maybe personally or professionally, as kind of speaking about this slowing down, maybe some ways or some thoughts of how you do that or teach that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's so many ways to do that, but I think the lowest hanging fruit for folks is to do things like a yin yoga, take a yin yoga class, try meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation is not something anyone can achieve. And it's you don't have to be perfect at it to meditate. If you're perfect at meditation, you're not meditating. Yeah. So
that's so
true.
That's blowing my mind that you're saying that right there. Boom. Right? But it's like, that's so true. Continue. I can
quiet your mind. Yeah. That when all the thoughts come, that's the meditation. That's the essence of it. And then also focusing on sleep. That is such a yin part of your day.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you are staying up late and on the computer in the dark, when it's dark and when you're supposed to be cold and quiet and not moving, you're disrupting that regulation of your systems. And, we walk in a day and we're overloaded with all this yang. And so we need to really root in our yin and really, really focus on sleep in order to be healthy.
Okay.
So those are the things I push is sleep.
Yes.
And then, trying out quieter activities like yin yoga and meditation.
Yeah, very much so.
Or walking instead of running. Like flipping the script a little bit on sort of
speaking to my soul.
I know.
You're like literally speaking to me.
Speaking to you, speaking to your soul.
Yes. So, I mean, because, right, like those examples, so I can hear it as you speak about it too, like sleep.
Yeah.
And as you say that to me, and I'm like...
You're like, yeah. And again, we're not all perfect.
Yes,
but it's just trying. There are many things you can do to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
There's no need to watch, an extra video on Facebook. Like, it's not getting you anywhere.
Yeah.
So just like trying to figure out how to reprioritize, like what is important.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 with part 2 coming up next week, where we get a chance to talk more about slowing down and the importance of that. More tips, techniques coming up. So stay tuned for that. Also, make sure to subscribe, give feedback, comments as we continue to build this community of mental fitness. I look forward to next week's episode, and I hope you do as well. With that, stay curious, be curious without judgment. Until next time. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through mental fitness stories with Jon Steele. If you resonated with today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review on your podcast platform of your choice. Remember, your story is important, and so is your mental well-being. If you have a personal mental fitness journey you'd like to share or topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, reach out to us on social media or through our website. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, expert insights, and practical tips to help you cultivate a resilient mind. Until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your inner dialogue, and prioritize your self-care. Remember, you are not alone, and your mental fitness and well-being is worth the investment. Thanks for being a part of the Mental Fitness Stories community.